Hello, Yvonne. We're going to take a look at your second film. So we'll go ahead and share this here and get to looking at it. Now, I may stop and start and that kind of thing as we go. And even before I start, we'll talk a little bit about how the piece starts. And that is that we start on this shot, completely start on this shot. Now, when we start a film, when we start this kind of piece, um, there's a reason that we would start with a shot like this, where it's just full on, here's the picture right away. And there's a reason we wouldn't start on a shot like this right away. Imagine if you were to go to a orchestral concert, like you went to a musical concert and you went in and you as soon as you opened the door um, to the theater, right? You were going to get ready to go into the theater to sit down, right? You open the door to the theater to walk in and go find your seat, but as soon as you open the door, the orchestra started playing, right? Well, they don't do that, right? They wait. You go open the door, you go in, and you find a seat. But imagine then if you found your seat as soon as you sat down. The moment your butt hit the seat, the orchestra started playing, right? You sat down and boom, they started playing the music. They don't do that either, right? Nor does the orchestra just all of a sudden just start playing without warning, right? You're sitting there, you're waiting, and all of a sudden the music just starts. No, what usually happens is the lights go down. There maybe be a moment, two, three, four, and the music comes up and starts playing. So with that's time-based media. What it does is it creates this moment before and after. Same thing happens with films. You go into the movie theater, it just doesn't start playing. If the lights go down, you get a moment. There's a reason for that. It's to take you away and give you a moment to then be away from reality, away from the world, and then come back into it. So that's a long way to say we need to have a little bit of leader in your piece. In other words, black space. It's easy to do. What you do is you move the footage down a little bit in the timeline, leaving a blank space. In some cases, for instance, if you're using like iMovie, what you have to do is do a long fade up to from black. In other words, you put a fade in and you do a long fade in from black, and at least that allows it some time to sort of grow in and fade up so that the audience has a chance to acclimate to this new world that you're bringing them. Also, your text, if you notice here, we're on number 0 right here. Your text is already fading in. We want to give the audience a little bit of time to see the image and then also a little bit of time to see the text come up. So within the first, um, you know, few seconds, we've got audio, we've got video, and we've got text. And it's 2 seconds into the piece. We're already like, whoa, okay. Now I know this is a 5x5 and it happens fast. So there's a reason that you would have no time in front of your piece. And usually that has to do with installation pieces and stuff like that, that loop, that start, begin, and end and on a loop, and they just constantly play over and over again. In that case, you would not have leader necessarily black at the beginning and stuff, because it's meant to look like it's infinitely playing. And if that's the case here, we would we would definitely we wouldn't want to have the title in there if you considered this to be a looping piece that would just play over and over again constantly. But you put the title in there and that's cool. But again, maybe give it a little bit more time. Give us a second, a beat before the title comes in so that we have that space. These are all just, ways in which you can go in and very easily make modifications to improve the piece, and then things to look to look at moving forward in your next few pieces as you continue to edit and do time-based media. That said, this opening shot is really nice. The quality of light is good. I could have done without maybe the poles here. All of this stuff is so nice that the lighting poles aren't really contributing to the overall shot. Okay, so we talked a little bit about and brought up the point of the vertical video. And, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But one thing that we do here is we transition with what's called a fade here. And normally that's going to be just fine to do a fade. But there's an issue that comes up when, excuse me, when we do a fade in particular, because we've got the vertical coming right after it, because we're fading up on this contrasting, like formal aspect. The aspect ratio is contrasting. So we got these black bars on either side that we're fading into. So if we were we're going to hold true to going from this horizontal, see the ghost here, these two sides. If we were going to hold true to that, then formally, for this to be formally sound, let's just call it formally sound, we would not want to fade. We would want to simply cut, just cut right to the vertical video there. Now, again, I put a question mark on vertical video versus horizontal video. And here's another explanation as to why, because it really has nothing to do with my own personal taste or anything like that, because vertical video can work. We've seen the work of Bill Viola's where he has those vertical videos of the portraits and stuff. You're doing a portrait here, so it can work. However, we're contrasting horizontal with vertical. And that is really where the issue lies, is you're contrasting horizontal with vertical video. And that formally is problematic. Imagine if you had paintings hanging in a gallery, right? You had paintings hanging on a wall, and you had these paintings, the shape of the canvas was horizontal. So you had these canvases that were in a horizontal framework, right? They're facing this way. And then you had the painting itself. What was painted was this, just taking up this space here, right? Nothing was painted here, nothing was painted here. And you had the canvas was oriented this way. Okay, that would be weird, right? I mean, in and of itself, that would be strange to look at, because it'd just be like, that's a strange choice. However, if that was consistent, all of the paintings looked like that, at the very least, the strangeness of that would carry through the rest of the pieces. And at the very least, even though it would be strange, it would be a little like, why were they choosing to do that? At the very least, the audience would be confronted with the artist or whoever showing it did it on purpose. They chose to do it this way, and all of them are consistently that way. So clearly they are doing it for a reason, or at least they're doing it deliberately. Now, when we do one this way and then the next one is painted, the whole canvas is painted, and then two more are painted with just the vertical, and then another one, the whole canvas is painted. Now suddenly the audience, when they're looking at that, it's sort of, okay, well, what's going on here? Why on some of them are we only doing like that portion, and then others, the whole thing is painted? I mean, why would we do that, right? This is what goes through, consciously or not, our minds with looking at a piece that is constructed in that way. The other thing about vertical video, the reason why it's disorienting, is video is moving imagery that simulates the way we look. Photography itself simulates the way that we see the world. Video simulates the way we see the world and simulates the way it moves for us. So therefore, it's even more connected to how we perceive the world. We don't perceive the world this way at all. We perceive the world this way. So when we are confronted with an image that is presented to us this way, what we see is something is blocking our view. What we see is we don't see the whole thing. We are being limited in what we're able to see here. When we're looking at an image like this, what we see, of course, is the baby. But what we are also confronted with is we don't see some stuff. not what we see the whole image. What we are confronted with is we don't see something. So these are the reasons. It's not critical, but these are the meaning. I'm not criticizing what you've done. In other words, the composition that you've done here, it works. You've got him in the lower third and all of that stuff. What I'm saying is the audience, what they're confronted with here is they're confronted with, I can't see something. That's what they're intellectually, subconsciously, that's what they're feeling. Now, if you had simply had all of it vertical, again, the audience would have just actually very quickly rationalized this is how the artist is presenting it. They're portraying it as a vertical, and it's a deliberate choice. There you go. It would have gone a lot farther to it. So that was a lot. We've only gone 6 seconds into your piece. So there you cut, right? There you could have probably done the fade because you were going from the one aspect ratio to the other, the same. Now here's what's interesting. This you very well may have been thinking horizontal, because the way that the baby is oriented, he seems wrong, like sideways. So this video looks like it needs to be turned, rotated, like the baby's now sideways. So here we have the baby is vertical. Okay, now the baby's sideways. Now, babies are all different perspectives. We're used to looking at babies from angles we don't see other human beings, right? We look down on babies, we're looking up at babies. I get it. That could be what we're doing here, but again, I don't know. Right? And then we do the fade. So the choice that we're making here, I think we've got it reversed. So I think we could do fades on vertical to vertical and then cuts from vertical to horizontal. But I would get rid of the vertical to horizontal to begin with. Formally, it's not sound. It doesn't create a sound formal presentation. And that's fun. There we have the proper orientation there, as opposed to that. So there now we have the proper orientation. Now, see this transition. See how that one visually works. Now, this one, your choice in color cast is quite particular, or peculiar, not particular, quite peculiar. I'm curious why, or what it is about the yellow greenish cast that you're interested in here, in showing us. You know, what is it about this yellow greenish? Is this a particular color that he's very fond of? Is this a color that you use to calm him or something like that? It's not clear to me, you know, what the answer is there, or whether it just happens to be that it's a, you know, that's a color that happened to be there or whatever. But it's unique to the other pieces. That all the other pieces seem to be having a rather neutral color cast to them, clean daylight color cast to them, and then this one is, you know, very vividly greenish yellow. So I'm curious about what the you know, what the choice is on that, what that's meant to communicate. So again, we faded on that one. So I'll stop picking on that one. And then we go to the credits. I mean, this is a very simple 5x5 portrait. I think Felicity's suggestion that this be a sort of scrapbook kind of video scrapbook is an excellent one. Creating a sort of a collage where you could be perhaps including a lot more imagery, maybe being able to take those vertical videos and combining them with other layering strategies. If you look at some of the other students in a way that they have maybe constructed some of the overlapping footage, that kind kind of stuff could work. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. You clearly have a passion for your subject. You're attempting to communicate something that is very close to your heart, and so I think there's certainly a will to be able to make this everything that it can be, and I think you can. You just want to clean up some of the formal things, which the good news is formal corrections and formal considerations. We just go back to the principles of design, which, those are some things that we can just lean right on. What works formally will always work formally. What doesn't work formally will always stand in our way. If we are working with things that are not formally sound, there's no bending and getting around them. We can offer that this is not formally sound in contrast with something that is. We can do that. But some of these areas where we're looking at and saying, this is questionable whether you want to kind of push to that level. Is this the right kind of piece to be questioning some formal considerations and stuff like that? Is it the right kind of subject to use to make those kinds of questions? I don't know. I don't know that it is. So think about those kinds of things. I think this is genuinely you're wanting it to be the kind of piece that is meaningful, and I think it can get there. So I look forward to your next piece, and we'll see you in the studio. All right. Bye-bye now.